How's it going, YouTube? Welcome back to Andreas for the Poker. This is a re-upload because the other video got taken down. It's a little bit annoying because there's thousands of reaction videos on YouTube that have basically a 90% overlap with original content, but somehow they are fine. And me cutting down a stream of Knossi, which is never going to be, poker focused, into the individual hands that were important to this, huge tournament round by Knueppel is not legit. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump into the poker traction, and I'm going to walk you through what's happening here. So again, this is a $1,000 tournament. You can see that there's 164,000 for the first prize finish. There's 31 players left out of 978, $1,050 buying, 1 million guaranteed. So there's a little bit of overlay in this tournament actually. So what does it take to win it? Knueppel's a recreational player and he was given this ticket by Pokerstars and he started with only, I think, 13 or so blinds. I think this was actually the first hand, so it had 12 big blinds. This is the big blind. Comes down to the button, it was a regular, he jams. Having Knueppel a bit covered, but not Connor B. Connor ends up folding and Knueppel snap calls with ace queen offsuit. Pretty strong hand here to pick up against the button. Pretty cruel to see the flush draw, but then he wins it. I mean, if he actually got out, I think at this point, it would have been a 4K cash or something, right? It's, so brutal when you're finishing as 30th instead of, on the final table. He opens on the button and then ship it for the win, rejams with a sizable stack, and he lets it go. Not really sure what he had. Here, there's actually a spot where, an early position opens for 2 big blinds, and then Knueppel goes all in for 9.5 big blinds. Not really that high chances that Shieldy is going to fold unless he has an ace and an ace blocker, weak hand, and he thinks that he might be behind because he only has to pay 7.5 big blind to win this pot, which is basically giving him pretty good pot odds. But he lets it go. Now Knueppel goes all in for his last 7 big blinds. After the blinds went up, you can always follow the blinds on here. So that you don't get confused with the big blind and how big the blinds are. King 10 against ace 3 offsuit, almost a coin flip. And the queen on the river, Knueppel doubles up here. At this point, we're already down to 10. And now we get to... No, we're still at 10. Knueppel limping it in from the hijack. At this point, 10th place finish is $8,000, so about 8 binds. Knueppel limps it. We go 4-way to the flop. There's obviously some ante in there as well. Flop comes 10-3-3 is a little bit dangerous because if somebody has a 3, Knueppel probably doesn't have a 3. Ramastar probably doesn't have many 3s either. I mean, Knueppel obviously could have 2 10s. Ramastar probably not, as the big stack. And Knueppel just calls of the pot size flop bet. Checks the turn again. There's now 2 flush draws out there. Pretty dry board, even though there's only a couple of these draws, of course. And we see the shocking news. Kaipa indeed had a 3 and Knueppel with the aces. And if you ask yourself, how likely is it that somebody has a 3? You can basically use tools like Pokerstars Circle. I recommend that. It's an old school tool. If you just want to know some general things about poker, you can put in the board, you can put in some ranges. And then you can ask the Oracle, how often does at least one player match hand range 3? And if you ask that, you can see the solution is 70%. As I'm playing Pot Limit Omaha, I use this program a little bit more often for multi-way situations. It's a great tool to study. And for Pot Limit Omaha, the answer is even almost 40%. It's a pretty cool tool. And this could be over right here, right? It could be already over. Imagine that, 8,000, 160K up top. And you can see how insane. The ace on the river, 4.5%, right? For these 2 outs that are still on the deck. Knueppel takes this one down with the ace on the river. How brutal for Kaipsa on the other hand, right? How brutal must it feel? 33 big ones is so much at this point. We go to the final table, which now is 10K or more payouts. Hello, Totti opens on the button, Knueppel with a rejam from the big blind. Button range obviously doesn't call very often. once you rejam. Again, another rejam. It's quite common to put in those larger stacks because there's, you know, some shorter stacks around exit only, Belivinsky, that could go out before you, and then you can ladder up. You know, 9th place is 10,000, 8th place is 15,000, and you get more and more whenever other people go out if you're new to poker here. I know a lot of you aren't, but this is what it comes down to in final table tournament poker a lot, and creates a lot of pressure on the medium-sized stack. So when you have a lot of chips like this Ramastar guy here, it can put a lot of pressure on people and basically dominate the final table because everyone's scared to go out in 9th place for 10K when there's so much more every time somebody else goes out. Knueppel with a 2-pair makes a value bet and gets 5 big ones from Ramastar, which one of the next hands, Ramastar wins some of that back. And I think Knueppel makes a rejam here, but it didn't get shown on stream, but I think he won like he won like another 4 big blinds. Here, really brutal. I mean, actually not brutal. Quite a punt. Ramastar re-raises to 7 big blinds against Shieldy, trying to put some pressure on him. And Ship It for the Win wakes up with aces. He's committed. He calls it. He has only 10% equity, only 10% chance to win. And here is actually where I think Ramastar, who was, I think, quite a bit of punter in the final table. He lost the tournament chip lead here, and he had a pretty good chance to take this 160k down, and we see what happens. Here, 7-player busts against Knueppel, who picks up a hand in the big blind. Here, Totti limps, Knueppel tries to sense weakness and goes all in with ace-deuce as the blocker, hoping that Totti doesn't have a hand. He does have a hand, calls very quickly, and doubles up for Knueppel. Knueppel now short. And when you add 5 big blinds, you just hope everyone else to go out so that you get a better pay jump. And here, exit only with the pocket eights has to go all in. And then Ship It for the Win, unfortunately for exit only, has the pocket jacks, takes him out, has even a more massive chip lead. Now, he also takes out Shieldy with ace-king against ace-queen. And, you know, Ramastar and Knueppel both, they're loving life, right? They have such a short stack, and they just want others to go out. At this point, 4th place is 59,000 already. Knueppel now with a very short stack, doubling up once again with a jack high against the king high. Another all-in against Ship It for the Win, who is at this point going all in with all his cards that he has. He has 7 deuce offers, he doesn't care because he knows everyone else, if they don't have a good hand, they're probably going to fold. Knueppel doubles up again. Now Knueppel again with the aces, the 3rd all-in against Ship It for the Win. This is what it takes, guys. You have to get, those hands are super important and they can mean massive differences for you. Knueppel now on the button. Now at this point he has Ramastar covered, and then the big blind is about even with him, and Ship It for the Win not as sizable of a lead. So whenever he wins an all-in, they're even. Knueppel now with ace-queen against ace-10, and once again going from 4 big blinds now to 36, and it's all game now at this point. They're now 3-handed. He's guaranteed, you can read it down here, 83,000. An all-in against 22 big blind stack. Hello Totti, 3-handed, queen 10 suited, good hand. King queen suited, a slightly better hand, but the check on the river seals the deal for Knueppel. It's now heads up, asking if they wanted to make a deal, which would basically mean you take the first 2 money ranks together, and then you chop it somewhere in the middle, because Knueppel and Ship It for the Win are somewhat even in chips, and you pay out differently than here. But Ship It for the Win says he wants to gamble and play for this more than 40,000, 47,000 now on the line for first prize in this heads-up match. So it's massive heads-up match, of course. I remember Knueppel, he got this ticket paid, he didn't buy into it. This is just a one-on-one match of poker for $47,000. Small bet on the flop on ace-jack, pretty good board for the guy who raised, and then on the river, after checking back the turn, Ship It for the Win takes this one. So it's a little bit of back and forth. Knueppel bets the flop here, again 8. And when there's 8 big ones in the middle, when there's 2 more bets going in, we could see an all-in at any point. Knueppel takes down this one. Again, ace-high board, very good for the guy who raised, because if Knueppel had an ace, king, queen, very big cards, he most likely, or a lot of the times, would re-raise before the flop. And then, because he had a flush draw and hit the 9 on a turn instead, and Ship It for the Win not bluffing, or having possibly check high showdown value, he did win that pot. You win one, we lose one. And this time, Knueppel bets flop and turn. Club hits on the river. At this point, I mean, both players could have some flushes, but chip it for the win just with the top pair. Knueppel giving up. Goes back with ship it for the win, raising this pot. He bets on the flop, bets on the turn. Now you can see there's 18.48 big blinds in the middle and 18 big blinds here, but then a 9 hits the river. And if Knueppel check calls flop and check calls turns, he check calls the turn, he's got a bunch of 9x type of hands, you know, 9, 8, 9, 7, 10, 9, Jack 9, all these kind of stuff, King 9. And he now goes all in on the river, saying that he has a 9. He could obviously also be bluffing with some hands, you know, like 10-8, King 10 maybe, if he didn't re-raise it suited before the flop. So these are all some hands that he could have and tries to bluff here on the 9. But it is a big pot here. I mean, you can see he has 33 big blinds. If he calls here and he's wrong, ship it for the win. He has only 15 big blinds left, and Knueppel will go to 36 big blinds, giving him the chip lead. He throws some emojis at him, taunting him to make the call. And later, you can see the up cards in this replay. And ship it for the win has ace queen here. He makes the fold. Knueppel also, when we see his whole cards, he had a 9 here. He did have value. Ship it for the win with a quiet, crazy fold, if you ask me. Top pair, top kicker there is such a hard fold. You can only make that if you think your opponent really has it here. Otherwise, you cannot fold that hand. And pot says bet here on the river by ship it for the win, and takes in over the chiplet. He limps, this time on the button, which when stacks get a little bit short, limping becomes more and more of a thing. The limping frequencies goes up as the shorter you get. I mean, at least in the 20 to 15 big blind region. And you can see that now Knueppel tried to make a small value bet, but ship it for the win did check back a top pair hand, queen 7. Ship it for the win now raising off 30 big blinds. This was right after, I'm sorry for that, but Knueppel did double up with a straight flush against a 2 pair. Didn't miss that in the edit. Ace 2 suited has 32% against queens. These suited aces are pretty good against these big pocket pairs. Obviously the nuts here in a heads up match for ship it for the win, so quite a good fortune. And you can see the back and forth. You know, he has an overpair. Knueppel with the ace, and on the queen, the river, it goes back and forth. Can you imagine a crazier hand than this one? You know, you're so close and you see, oh man, this guy's queens, fuck it, I'm lost. And then you see the ace on the turn and you see the queen and the river. Roller coaster of emotions for sure. And that is exactly the one more hand it took for Knueppel to take this one down, because now he has king 3 against Jack 4 offsuit. He's ahead, but no good this time. And also, what a stream. I think on Knossi's stream there were over 90,000 people watching at some point. I think that has never happened before in Twitch poker. Also now let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed this highlight video and which hand was your favorite. And also I want to just quickly mention that I have a lot of other videos on poker on my channel, Andreas Poker. And if you want to see interviews with poker players or just general topics in the poker industry and what's happening, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you don't want to miss a video. Also hit the like button if you enjoyed this one in particular, and I'm going to see you for the next video.